Hi friends, today I'm playing with something kind of fun and for me I think really cool because I love portable things that I can take with me on the go and that are just pretty easy to use, have a lot of flexibility. So I came across these Ohuhu markers. I got these a few months ago and been playing with them a lot. This is the 60 color one, which is about $30. And they are made by Ohuhu. Let's just open it up. But I did want to show you the case they come in because it's quite a convenient size. So I can just throw it in my backpack or wherever I'm going, my bag, my art bag. When you open it up, there is this swatch color set. I went ahead and filled them all in. Let me give you a quick little peek at all of the colors. By the way, they not only have all these beautiful, really bright, fun colors. What I also liked is they give you quite a few neutrals. So that was kind of cool. As you can see here, I swatched them out and look at all the neutrals here. So I did like that. They give you a great selection of colors. Some of them are somewhat similar. And I always would offer advice to swatch out any of your paints, your markers, just because sometimes it can be a little bit hard to tell on, from the caps and things. So I did swatch this out and I use that quite often. I'm going to be playing with a little bit of a water brush today, but mostly just going to be showing you these markers. So I love the colors. Another really cool thing here is they are a dual tip, which is pretty cool. I love products that you can use a couple different ways. So this has got that brush tip, which you may be familiar with. It's used a lot by calligraphers, and I'm going to show you the brush stroke in a minute. It's quite thick. And then here is that fine liner. So it's really fine. I'm going to pull out a paper here in a second, and I'll just show you what those both look like. But the fine liner, if you're a bullet journaler or something like that, you're really going to like that. Like I said, I tend to go for the brush tips. The brush tips are really great for calligraphy too. So let me just show you here as the sun's setting here and coming across my paper. We've got quite a bit of light. So here is the brush side tip. So as you can see, it's pretty thick, covers really well. And by the way, look at that vibrancy. I did love that about these markers for being water-based. They're really vibrant. And then here is that fine line tip. And it's obviously a lot thinner, perfect for those bullet journals. I like them for that, but you're not really going to use them probably for covering a broad space. So that's how I would work with both of those. This I might use maybe for some veins in leaves and things like that, but that kind of shows you the different tips. The other thing I thought was a little bit curious, and I'll show you more of that, is let's just blend two of them. So here we've got our bright red. Let's grab our bright yellow. I was curious about this, how well they blended. So they do pretty good. As you can maybe see here, it did turn into a little bit more of an orange. Not quite as much as maybe a watercolor would, but it does a little bit. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you these in action here. So I've got a, let me see if I can move some of this. We've got the sun's starting to set here on my paper. Maybe that's a good thing. You'll really be able to see the colors here. The vibrancy is amazing with these, by the way. They do have a little bit limited light fastness. So, just to kind of keep that in. I use these, by the way, on journal paper, and then I'm also using them on this cold press paper, and they worked great on both. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's create a flower here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me see if I have my marker I can use because I'd like you to be able to see it. There's an 07. So this is my 07. By the way, I also use the Ohuhu fine liners. I love them. So I'm just going to draw the center of my flower here. And then what I like to do is create guidelines. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 for 5 petals here. And then that'll just give me a little bit of a guideline on where I'm going to place my petals. I'll go ahead and draw them in. So here we go. I like to make my petals. These, a lot of times when I make these, they almost look like an anemone. Anemone. There we go. Just draw this out. There you go. Kind of wonky, totally cool. I love that though. So I'm going to play with the yellow and the oranges today. Let's just go ahead and start. And I'm going to give you a couple different ways I use these. So the first way could be is wet on dry. So I've got dry paper here, obviously. I'm just going to go in. And by the way, I've got my little water brush pen handy here. I like the Meeden. It's got a little bit bigger chamber. I'm going to use the yellow and just going to go ahead and paint that in. Then I'm going to use my brush pen. I've got paper towel here, and it does blend. Got a little eraser piece, I think, on there. So it does a decent job of blending, not quite as much as maybe a actual watercolor paint on a brush would, but it does do some blending. But what I wanted to show you is, because there's a couple different ways you could use these. What I also could do, and what I found myself doing with these, is I'm going to wet my area first. So I had more luck with blending by wetting the area first and then going in with, well, let's go in with the yellow. And look at this soft blending you get. Much, to me, a little bit easier to blend. And so that's how I found myself kind of using them, although you can blend like once wet on dry and then add some water to it. So both ways seem to work pretty good, but I thought wet on wet seemed to work a little bit better. The other thing I really like is I can go in with the red while it's wet. And as you can see here, look how gorgeous the colors are, by the way, is the red blended really well. I did notice that. The reds, the browns, they seem to blend a little bit better, but look at how gorgeous that is, right? So definitely wet on wet for me. Let's go in there with a little bit of brown, maybe, just for the center. And when I dab that in, it's soft. It really kind of flows out a little bit compared to if it was wet on dry. Another way I found you could use these, but was a little bit, if I was going to do this, I'd probably just use my watercolors to begin with. But you can do this. So I can just color in. This is a porcelain Meeden palette, some yellow, and then I can use my brush, go in, pick up that, and now I can go in there and I'm kind of glazing over, which is really beautiful. Look at that beautiful glazed color with the red and the yellow. So this was another way I used it. I might also just go directly onto the tip and add that in there. I think that works beautifully. I'm just pulling out a little bit of that brown. So a really pretty effect there with that. I'm going to cap this back off. Oops, that goes on my water pen. And so those are a couple of the ways that I really enjoyed playing with these. I'm going to go into another one here, do the same thing. I will start out with my yellow on dry, like that. Go in with my brush. So I just keep playing to kind of see what what I enjoy more, because if I have to do too much, I might as well just use a paintbrush. But these would be really cool if you were traveling in an airplane and, you know, for your kids. I think this could be a really, really great set. And I always love different supplies for different reasons, and portability is huge for me. If something's portable, easy to take with me, I'm all for it. As well, these colors on these markers were just incredibly vibrant. I mean, look at this. So this was a little bit of the wet on dry first, and then I went in with the wet on wet with the red. Now this one I'll go back to wetting first, like that. And I'm getting these pretty wet. And look at how that flowed into there too. So I kind of like that. I'm going to go in with the red first. Let that start spreading. So pretty, right? And then I'm going to go into that with the yellow, and that also creates a really beautiful, beautiful wet in wet again blend. And then I might just pull that out. So pretty, isn't it? And so much fun. These are really fun. I've noticed I tend to grab these if I'm going overnight or something where I don't want to have to carry my whole bag with a palette, a water cup, and all of that. And the other cool thing is with these, you have that fine liner. So we're going to go in there in a minute and just draw in maybe some lines and things. But look how gorgeous that is so far. Let's go into, how about if we glaze this over? So this is dry. Let's put a glaze over it and see how that does. Get some water out here. This Meeden pen, by the way, isn't that cool? It even has a little push area there to get some more water out. Okay, so I wet and wet. Let's glaze over that. Works fantastic. Fantastic. There you go. Maybe soften that line just with a little bit of water. And there we go. Let's do our last one here, and then we'll do this center. So I'm going for the wet and wet again, just because, although this does blend there. There we go. Go in with our yellow. It's already really softly blending. And just a little tip I noticed, I try to turn my, anytime I'm using a brush liner, I try to kind of turn it so I'm not using the same side, because we really want to try and protect it, that tip. And then let's go in with our red. And now play to kind of spread that out. A little bit more water. And there we go. Gorgeous, right? Isn't that pretty? Let's do the center here. So I think what I'll do for the center, go ahead and wet it first. I'm going to get a gold type of color. So this color is called potato brown. I kind of like it. It's this one right here. So I wanted to start with that lightest color first. Let's just go into the center. And now while it's wet, I'm going to go in with some of that brown and just tap in, because I want it to blend and bleed. This one too. There you go. Okay, let's go in and just use that fine liner. See how well that shows up in there for some of the veins and things. So we've got a petal here. See if I can find that petal. Yep, there we go. This almost reminds me, which is really, really fun, when I use pen and ink. That's how I would use this liner, just like as if I was playing with pen and ink right now, which I love. I love using pen and ink with to kind of add a little bit of detail to some of my flowers. Look at that. Isn't that fun? So there you go. Really added some detail. And another thing I like, so if, let's say I wanted to make a little, like say baby's breath or something like that. So what I might do is just, I'm going to wet an area. And let's take blue. They had some gorgeous blues here, so I'm kind of dying to play with the blue. This is their process blue. And what I'm going to do is take the brush tip. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And I just added in some dots. Now the other thing I could do is go in with a green. Here's a green here. This is deep olive green. And I almost feel like I want to use the fineliner here. I want to create some little branches and such. And because it was wet, this is also going to spread a little bit, but yet it's got that beautiful little fine detail to it. So there we go. We might even, let's use another green here. Let's see what green this is. This is bronze green. So that is, let's see, where is bronze green? Bronze green. Yeah, that's kind of a pretty color. It's almost like a light olivey green. And just color in some little leaves. I'm going to try and use this side of my brush. Yeah, cool. Something like that. Now, since that dried, I'm going to go ahead and go in with this again, just like I would wet on wet. And then as it dries, add in some other details. And maybe let's get a little darker value of that. Let me grab this one. This is Indian blue. I like that one. And I'm going to go in. So we've got some other values in here. I've got kind of the washy blues that I put that look like they're a little bit more in the background. And then I've got these pretty darker blues. So how fun is that? I'm going to use the fine line, and I'm just going to go through the center of these leaves. Again, kind of playing with this like I would maybe pen and ink. And there you go. And then maybe lastly, let's add some little dots into the center. So I'll go with the brown first. I think I used that brown. Let's use a gold maybe. Okay. Oh, that's pretty. And then the last color I might use, oh, let me show you this too. I thought this was interesting. They give you a blender brush. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I've used blender brushes with alcohol markers and they work pretty great. I didn't really get a whole lot of effect out of this, but they give it to you. I didn't find myself using it much, but they do give that to you. So you can maybe try it with yours and see what you come up with. I would have loved maybe a white marker, but that's okay. So I could get, maybe use white, like just I would use a white paint. But there you go. I had a lot of fun with these. I think they're a great addition to your art supplies if you want something different, something kind of fun. I think they'd be great for kids because you kind of wouldn't have to worry about them, you know, spilling paint on things and stuff like that. So for that reason, I think they're really great. This was another one I did using these water markers. I played with that. I used some different colored flowers and things. So I hope that was fun for you. You know, this would be a great addition, like I said, to your current art supplies if you want something a little bit more portable and cleaner, kind of messy free. And just another piece that you can have fun with. So happy painting. I will link these below. Ohuhu always comes out with some really fun products, and I think this will be one I'm playing with quite a bit, actually. All right, everybody, happy painting. And, most of all, have fun. So happy to have you guys here. I love our little community we're creating. And, you guys really keep me inspired and on top of creating new things. And for that, I'm really grateful. All right, happy painting, everybody.